Committee, and we have an author, Senator Hueso. You have item 3, SB 1145. Thank you for coming. Right.
Sure, you're okay. You're right, we have a podium.
Yes, excuse me, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. The author at the podium, please.
I forgot we have a podium here, Madam
Right.
Chair. Apologize. Thank you, good morning, members. Very proud to be here on some work that we're doing to increase literacy in the state of California. We are at a critical point in our state's history. I argue that we are facing one of our biggest challenges in education in recent years. According to the California Department of Education, 60% of all California fourth graders do not meet the standards for reading. For the Latino community, it's 68%. If the Latino community is 54% of our education community's population, and 68% are not reading standards, we're in a crisis. 72% of the African American population are not meeting reading literacy standards. I have constituents in my district asking me why the Senate is proposing to allocate $250 million for prison construction when we can use that money for things like education. That's currently a proposal in our budget, $250 million for new prison construction. How do I tell them that we are making the right decisions in our state if we have some populations that are at 72% of illiterate in our youth population? When statisticians and sociologists look at our population, they can predict that how many of the kids are going to end up in prison based on literacy rates at the fourth grade. So if we already know these kids in the fourth grade are going to prison, we already have enough information to suggest that we can make a difference through our work here. I no longer want to take a reactive position to building more prison space. I want to be proactive. I think it's about time the Senate, the legislature, has started I think it's about time we take steps to reverse this. I know, so we have a bill today that requires creating an assessment of younger children in the first early grades from 1 to 3, and to create a reading plan to get them to the next level. I have 4 children, and early on, I have one child with autism that I never thought would mainstream to the regular class, and so they developed a plan to get them to the next level in different areas, especially reading. And it was that really changed the difference for my children. So when educators came to my office and said, we need to do this for California, I said, wait, no, wait a minute, we're already doing it. I said, no, we're not. And I actually looked into it and found that I'm shocked at this point in history, California is doing nothing, zero, to work with the individual student to improve their literacy rate. Oh, well, we're working with the district, and the districts are coming up plans for the district, and they have a plan for the district, and they're accountable at a district level, but not on a student-by-student basis. That is shocking to me. So I thought this is something, you know, we have different people in our district doing this. We have different parts of the state doing this. This should be a no-brainer. And I've been shocked to find opposition along the way. It's very sad that given the fact that state of California is dead last in education, that we're 40, it depends on, I mean, if you look at Hispanic and African-American populations, we are dead last. I'm always proud to come up here and talk about California being the largest economy and how we lead in aerospace and how we lead in all these areas, only to find that we're dead last in education, dead last in reading comprehension. And if you're a Latino or an African-American in this state, your chances of getting an education are far, far, far less than the rest of the population. I think we have a civil rights problem in the state of California. I propose to take on this bill because I want to do something about it. Because, I had the pleasure to serve with you, Madam Chair, and serve with some of the members of this committee and I've worked for years touting that California is working hard in education. But when I find that we have so many deficiencies, I felt a responsibility to bring this forward and take on the status quo on behalf of our kids, because we have such a big problem facing our state currently that we can't just sit by and wait for more time to pass as we pass up all these kids that are destined to go to prison this year and next year because we don't have the courage to stand up and fight for them. I have some members of the educational community today that came to testify on the importance of this bill, why we need it. We have Michael Lombardo. He is the CEO of Reading Partners. Dr. Barbara Flores is a reading literacy expert representing the California Latino School Boards Association, and she is an educator in the San Bernardino district. We have Dr. Katie McNamara, the superintendent of South Bay Union School District, and Sydney Wagner, the assistant superintendent of the South Bay Union School District as well. If, Madam Chair, if you'll allow me to have them make some comments.
Sure. In support of the bill, please. Any one of you can start.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you, Senator, for the introduction. My name is Michael Lombardo. I serve as the CEO of Reading Partners. I am also a social entrepreneur in residence at Stanford University and serve on the advisory council of the My Brother's Keeper Alliance, President Obama's initiative focused on issues affecting boys and young men of color. Reading Partners is a national not-for-profit organization working to close the fourth grade reading opportunity gap. We work in partnership with over 80 school systems across 11 states. We proudly began here in California and are headquartered in Oakland. And we work with students all across California, providing intervention services at the school level, as well as advocacy and public policy work as we do today. The importance of early reading is difficult to overstate. As the Senator referenced, it is one of the greatest predictors for a student's opportunity both in school and later in life. Students who master reading by the end of fourth grade are 400% more likely to complete high school and go on to college. Students who fail to master reading at an early age will struggle with it throughout their academic career and on into their lives. There's a saying among teachers and educators, and as a parent of young children myself, it resonates. Up until fourth grade, students are learning to read. After that, they're reading to learn. Their inability to access text becomes something that seeps across every academic subject and affects every one of their abilities to succeed in school. The reason I love this work and have served with such enthusiasm as the leader of Reading Partners is that this is a problem we know how to solve. This is not a mystery. There are proven supports that can get students who are struggling with reading back on track. We have decades, literally decades of research that point to what works for kids, and most of those solutions are inexpensive and can be easily administered by teachers and support staff within schools. There are very few issues in education in which everyone agrees, and everyone agrees how important early reading is, and everyone agrees on the things that work to fix it. Senate Bill 1145 represents a critical opportunity for California to step up and follow, frankly, the lead other states have taken in combating the early literacy crisis we face. As the Senator referenced, depending on how you choose to look at sub-demographics, California ranks either last or in the bottom 3 in every measurement of early reading. 16 other states have acted, adopting legislation similar to SB 1145 and taking the initiative to ensure that students receive the supports they need to be successful in early reading. We are being lapped by states like Michigan, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Louisiana, and California, as the senator referenced, is the largest economy in the United States. We are an economy built on innovation, on technology, aerospace, finance, agriculture, all areas in which early reading skills are essential for our economic success. A final note I'll make, the aspects of Senate Bill 1145 that we have put into place represent all of the best practices that other states have proven out, that have been demonstrated to drive reading achievement at the state level in those other states, and also what educators know are common sense approaches to how we support kids. It involves knowing who is struggling with early reading at a very early age. The assessments that students can be given that we'll talk about here today are not Scantrons, they are not fill in the bubble, they involve a teacher reading with a child and observing how they are doing with their reading. And they involve low intervention supports. What is currently in the state education code for students who are struggling with reading, unfortunately, is the most draconian intervention, which is retention, holding kids back. The truth is retention doesn't help students over the long term. What helps them are supports like tutoring, summer school, and providing their teachers with the professional development they need to be great at teaching reading. We have an opportunity, as the senator referenced, for California to go from the back of the pack to the front. The Golden State Reading Guarantee is an investment in the future of our state, and crucially in providing opportunity for children all across California. Thank you for your consideration, and I want to reiterate Reading Partners' full support of SB 1145.
Thank you. In support of the bill.
Yes. My name is Dr. Barbara Flores, and I am a reading expert. I have been a professor for 35 years and a researcher, and my field is beginning literacy and biliteracy development, and have taught teachers at California State University since 1987 in that field. I'm also an elected official. I'm a school board member with the San Bernardino City Unified School District, and I've been there since 2008, serving as Vice President and President of the board, and I am currently the President of the California Latino School Boards Association. So I'll be speaking from two perspectives. Number one, as my colleagues have mentioned and the Senator has mentioned, we need to focus on our child's developmental nature, and reading is developmental. And unfortunately, we've had 15 years of No Child Left Behind and teaching to the kids of, a one-size-fits-all. I call it a ridiculous curriculum, and what we've actually organized is failure in organizing how kids learn, and have we need to shift the tide, and we need to move towards supporting teachers. We do have the instruments. We have the assessment tools that we know that work. It's nothing new, but what we need to do is target. We need a statewide initiative that is, reading by third grade. Two board meetings ago, we talked about it in our board meeting. Yes, we have LCAP, but it isn't in our LCAP. We've done lots of other things with our LCAP and our LCFF funding, but we need to target this. Our administrators gave an update on, the achievement of the kids. We had one school where 100 African-American kids were at. Not one of them was proficient in reading. That's criminal. We asked, what are your alternatives? We haven't made any yet. Well, that's unacceptable. That's totally unacceptable. Our ELL students, only 11% of them are proficient. And as my colleagues have stated, we don't need to build more prisons. We need to refund and redirect our money and our funding to early literacy. Our kids deserve it. Our teachers deserve it. We need to shift the tide. We need to help our teachers organize how they teach based on how our children learn. And as we've said earlier, our research shows that we have the best practices and the new developmental assessments. What I think we don't have is the direct leadership and direction to target early literacy reading by third grade. And I'm a teacher educator, and our teachers need professional development. and they need support, they need coaches, they need resources. And I would prefer, as a school board member, that we target and redirect and add additional money for our, for this initiative. Also, when we set a policy goal, speaking as a policymaker, reading by third grade would then set that target. We would develop a plan of action and accountability so that we would have those benchmarks so that teachers would know. We know that by the end of first grade, the kids should be at level 16. We know that by the end of second grade, they should be at level 28. By the end of third grade, if they're at level 38, they are proficient. Our teachers need to have those benchmarks or those targets, and they need to have the pedagogy that supports them in doing that. That's what I've taught for 35 years, against the grain. And then on your part, we need to appropriate the additional funding statewide and redirect those funds. And we are in support of this bill because it would target, again, I've said it 3 or 4 times, we would name the target and we would have a mantra, reading by third grade statewide. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Katie McNamara, and I'm the superintendent in the South Bay Union School District. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today and to offer testimony about the practicalities of and the reason that we're in support of this bill. So my experience spans 30 years in education and quite a diverse experience as my career has unfolded. I began in the Riverside Unified School District in some of the highest poverty schools that are in that district. I made my way to some very high wealth, high achieving districts, both Del Mar and Solana Beach, where I was the assistant superintendent. And I think that that's important because now that I am the superintendent in the South Bay Union School District, and have been there now, this is my 3rd year. What our assistant superintendent, Cindy Wagner, will also testify about is our experience in diverse school districts that now we find ourselves in a district with 85% of our students Hispanic Latino. We are 85% unduplicated, which means that 85% of our children are either in foster youth, are living in poverty, or are English learners. And they have a lot of needs. And as we have worked in high wealth school districts and high achieving school districts, we know what the differences are. So one of the big surprises for us as we made our way to South Bay was learning that there was no diagnostic reading assessment in our district. South Bay has been a district in program improvement for years. And to be honest with you, it's shocking that they don't have a diagnostic reading assessment. These are essentials. This for me is like going to a weight loss clinic that has no scales. You absolutely have to know whether or not children are making progress, and you have to know right away. And the only way to really understand what children need, you not only have to be able to track and monitor the progress that they're making from kindergarten to 1st grade to 2nd grade, and then hopefully to reach proficiency at 3rd grade. The only way to know what to do different if they're not making progress is to understand what they need. And the only way to know what they need as a teacher is to sit with a child and let them read with you. It is imperative to know whether their comprehensions are, if reading comprehension is what they need, or whether they need more development and fluency. It's critical to understand what they need in reading, and the only way to identify that is to sit and read with them, and to know where they are in the developmental progressions of, and a reading assessment can do that for you. So one thing you might hear is that the LCAP, the Local Control Accountability Plan, can be a vehicle for us to be able to put these things in place. In South Bay, we have taken that opportunity to do exactly that. Our mission in South Bay is for all children to be able to read at grade level by 3rd grade for all of the reasons that you've heard today. And that is one of our most primary goals in our LCAP. But here's what I will tell you. Most school districts already do this. high-achieving school districts absolutely do. And what I can also tell you is that it shouldn't be optional. So while we put it in the LCAP, and I believe that many people probably have done the same things in good faith in other school districts, it should not be optional, and there is absolutely, it's imperative that every school district have something like this. It is that type of essential and imperative for us. So we think that this bill makes a lot of sense, and we are definitely in support. And I'll let my colleague, our assistant superintendent, tell you a little bit more about what we've learned in our district and how some of the questions she might be able to answer for you this morning as well.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Cindy Wagner. I am the Assistant Superintendent in the South Bay Union School District. And over the course of my career, I have served as a teacher or administrator in 7 school districts representing 4 states in the United States, as well as I've taught at both Arizona State University and at California State University, San Marcos. And I'm going to echo many of the thoughts from my colleagues. Moving to a school district that would be seen as underperforming and serving underrepresented students, I was dismayed and very surprised that a district who has been in a state accountability program improvement for almost 7 years, never was required to administer a one-on-one diagnostic developmental reading assessment. There was no reading data for any student prior to the time that they took either STAR in the old days of the accountability system or currently in SBAC. By the time we receive that data, it is too late. The amount of instruction grows exponentially in order for children to not only make a year's progress, but if they're behind, you have to accelerate that achievement and make more than a year's progress. So while, yes, this does exist in many districts, there are many districts where it does not. And unfortunately, many of those districts are those who serve our most vulnerable population, and underrepresented and needy children. So we are here in support of the bill. I can speak today about implementation, early results, as well as the cost. But this bill guarantees that teachers have the opportunity to have formative and authentic assessment data. This does not represent another statewide assessment. Instead, it represents a menu of choice to provide teachers with the exact kind of assessment data that they ask for, that they can use in their classroom every single day on behalf of the students that they serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others in support?
Good morning. My name is Tracy Weinstein, and I'm the National Director of Policy at Students First, and I'm also a very proud Reading Partners volunteer at Bret Harte Elementary here in Sacramento. And I'm here today on behalf of Students First California and our over 200,000 members across the state to urge your aye vote on SB 1145. As you've heard today, early literacy rates in California are lagging, with about 60% of our third graders failing to meet state standards in reading on the most recent state assessment. As a Reading Partners volunteer, I have worked closely with many students who fall into that 60% and have seen firsthand the progress they can make when they're able to have access to targeted interventions and supports. These students are anxious to learn, and they're excited for the opportunity to build their reading skills, but not all schools across California have access to Reading Partners or other early literacy interventions and supports. And we must do more as a state to ensure that all of our kids who are struggling are really getting access to those opportunities. Across the country, states are recognizing the importance of building strong early literacy skills, with about 16 states advancing legislation over the last few years around sort of a read by 3 guarantee. At Students First, we've worked with a number of states to advance such bills, most recently in South Carolina and Michigan. And from this work, I can say confidently that SB 1145 really draws on the best practices of early literacy support and intervention. Its focus is on giving schools and teachers the resources they need to identify struggling readers early and the flexibility they need to draft strong reading plans in partnership with parents and teachers to support these students' growth in these foundational literacy skills. Because of this, I'm confident that SB 1145 will provide our schools, our teachers, and our families with the tools they need to help students that I have worked with at Bret Harte, as well as struggling readers across the state of California, to truly reach their potential. On behalf of our members, we stand ready to help advance this important legislation and urge your aye vote today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Others in support? I think behind you.
Madam Chairperson, Martha Zaragoza Diaz, and I'm here representing the California Association for Bilingual Education and Californians Together. We don't have an official position at this time. We will have one tomorrow. We do have some concerns, however, regarding the bill in terms of how it affects English learners, and especially English learners in bilingual classrooms. We are concerned that the individual reading plan does not replace the requirement regarding English language development, and also not preclude utilizing other strategies and tools appropriate for English learners, and especially English learners in bilingual classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're working with the author on these concerns.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members, Manny Diaz, I'm here. I wasn't going to speak on this issue, but I'm here representing myself as a former third grader, a long time ago, that only spoke Spanish, that was not proficient in reading, was raised by a single mom in San Francisco in the Mission District. So I can relate to the struggles that many of our young kids have. And let me tell you, for me, it was a big struggle. So having this kind of additional assessment provision, I think makes a lot of sense. So I hope you can support it. And Madam Chair, I know your committee and the legislature has done a lot to help our kids and student success. I think this is the right way to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any others in support? Is there opposition? You'll have to. Sit still. I need to get through. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm Ron Rapp, representing the California Federation of Teachers. We are speaking in opposition to this bill. We represent 120,000 educators around the state. I want to make that clear. I have to preface my testimony with some background. I'm a former English reading teacher. I've taught in 3 states. I've also worked for a publishing company on a comprehensive reading program and helped to scale up that reading program around the country. I've visited thousands of classrooms around the country. I want to say that I want to thank the author, first of all, for taking on this issue. It is a critical issue, I agree with the author, but this is not the approach that we need to take. This is about developing a reading plan, requiring teachers, mandating that teachers develop an IEP for every underperforming student in the state. I don't think that's what's needed. We talk about California being the bottom of the list in terms of achievement in reading. Let's talk about where we are in terms of funding public education. Depending upon which statistics you look at, which research you look at, we're about 47th, 49th in the country in terms of funding. Developing a reading plan is not the solution. Requiring teachers to develop a reading plan is not the solution to this issue. And I'm here with my colleague from CTA. Together, we represent 500,000 teachers in this state. This issue and this bill was never discussed with our associations. This bill has not had input from teachers around the state. That would be my recommendation. First of all, let's talk about what is needed. And I talked about resources. You know, let's fund public education appropriately. Let's get aides into classrooms so that they can help children learn to read and learn other disciplines as well. Let's provide professional development for our teachers. This shouldn't be a state mandate. This is a local issue. If the superintendents, assistant superintendents up here are talking about the fact that they don't have local assessments and that their children aren't achieving, why is that? I think they should deal with that locally. It shouldn't be the legislature mandating that we develop reading plans. Is that really going to solve the problem? So let's provide resources. Let's provide professional development. Let's provide high-quality instructional materials. Go into classrooms in California. You'll see outdated instructional materials. Let's do that. Let's talk about what the real solution is to this issue. Let's not require or mandate from Sacramento a reading plan. That's not going to solve the issue. We've seen that again and again and again. Let's develop checklists. Let's require teachers to do this and do that. No, let's provide the support so that teachers can teach effectively and they have the skills to teach reading effectively. That's what's needed. And again, you know, this is a local issue. This should be written into the LCAP. If these districts have students who aren't achieving, why aren't you addressing it locally? Why are you bringing it to Sacramento? Figure it out locally. You should have, the assessments are available, the formative assessments are available. Go to the State Department and ask them, which formative assessments can we use? And use them, and collect the data, and provide the training for your teachers to help the students achieve. That's what's needed. Because of that, and we're willing to work with the author, and I spoke to the consultant yesterday and to let her know that we would be opposing this bill. And I said, you know, we're willing to bring together groups of teachers to talk about solutions to this problem. Let's do that. Let's do that. I urge your no vote, please. Thank you.
Before I have a quorum, let's take the roll.
Blue.
Here.
Blue here, Block. Block here, Hancock. Huff. Huff here, Leyva. Mendoza. Mawning. Pan. Pan here, Vidak.
Present.
Vidak here. That's 5.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
These in opposition to the bill.